I forgot who was the director. Stuart Rosenberg.
Stuart
That's correct.
Rosenberg,
Okay.
who
Did a few Paul Newman films in the early 70s.
Hey, do you guys hear me?
Yeah, I
yeah,
can
we hear you, David.
Just want to make sure. Okay.
It's This Week in Charles Bronson, the highly uncalled for news and pop culture program, that podcast that revolves around one weirdo's obsession with the late great action star. But now I have a whole community of weirdos, and tonight is another Buczynski family roundtable. Of course, we have the young teenage heartthrob Danny Getz spinning into tracks, spinning wax, and taking your phone calls.
Back again.
We got Ryan, the Vossinger of Death Voss, with us. We got from the world of Charles Bronson, David, Mr. Majestic Middleberg, with us again. And for the first time with us, we have online film critic Robert Baum. Robert
Thank you.
Baum, yes. And tonight we're talking about Love and Bullets, 1979. I have written down here that it was released in New York September 14th of 1979, and then the rest of America in December 9th, 1979. But another website said it was released January 26th of 1979. So I don't know. But we're gonna dive into that. And
Well, I think a number of Bronson's films in the 70s pretty much kind of came and went. And so I gather you also know that sometimes they'll obviously New York and LA are the primary venues where they release a film. I gather they
Right.
weren't exactly predicting Oscar nominations, even though I guess that's usually the sentiment. But I know that sometimes some films they open later because of, well, of course, back then, I guess I would have been 9 years old, so I was oblivious to the releasing patterns of
Right.
films. And
well, I believe from what I read that this film, I believe, started filming in 77. And I think it kind of sat in the can, or whatever they call it, whatever that expression is in the film land, for a little bit. And this movie, just to get right to it, was a big flop. It's not one of Charles Bronson's more famous or well-known movies. And it gets pretty trashed, even by our friend Paul Talbot in his book, Bronson's Loose Again. But I want to start the program by saying I love this movie. It's long been one of my favorites, not a top 5, but it's long been one of my, I'd say, top 10, top 15 Bronson films. And I kind of thought when I watched it again, after hearing all this bad critique of it, that I thought, well, maybe I'm older now, I'll watch it again and my opinion will change. And I loved it again this time around. I did feel like I did feel like they could have used Henry Silva a lot more in
Lot.
it. A lot more, right?
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
I think that it kind of there's a point in the film where I feel like it kind of slows down, but I enjoyed seeing Charlie and his wife work together. Just to do a little background here, this movie's got 3 Oscar nominees, 1 Oscar winner, but more importantly, 2 men that were both in Alligator and both in Cannonball Run 2. And those 2 men are Oscar. One's an Oscar winner, and one was Henry Silva. I don't think he was ever nominated for.
Yes, and more important than Rob
More important.
Steiger's Oscar win is
Right.
Alligator.
Yeah, well, how weird is it though that
who was the
Henry
second
Silva,
guy from Alligator in the film?
Michael V. Gazzo?
Oh, the guy played a lot of. I seem to recall he played Threlkis, the Godfather, who Clint Eastwood heart attacked at the opening of Sudden Impact, and
He was in
Mhm.
Sudden Impact,
Yeah.
and also Godfather 2, and I believe he was also taught at the Actors Studio. I believe that among his students was David Hedison, back then known as Al Hedison.
Wow. And he that's some interesting information. And I think I'm gonna look it up while whoever's just start talking talks, but I think he he was nominated for Godfather too.
Yeah, for playing Frankie Pantangeli.
Yeah.
He's the guy that towards the end of the movie, he gets in the bathtub, slits his wrists, and he's got that awesome voice where it's like that.
Hey, you sound just like him.
Hey, what's with people being in The Godfather and then slumming it in one of these movies? I mean, and I say slumming it because this wasn't. I love the movie, but it wasn't. It was a flop, and it was not a great production.
Well, it's sort of a thing that kind of happens with older actors. I mean, you know, they're not exactly counting on a guy named Michael Gazzo to open a movie. And I guess by then, Rod Steiger's problems, I gather you know that he battled depression for a number of years. And I guess and he also had some other health issues. And so I guess I'm sure you probably heard that axiom, you're only as good as your last movie. And I guess I know that he also delved into TV work, and I guess it seemed that his apex was In the Heat of the Night. But I guess following it, okay, Exorcist 2, The Heretic, I gather no one wanted that on there. I think the Amityville Horror was a big hit, but like Bronson, he didn't exactly fall into it completely, but he actually wound up getting a paycheck for Canon with a film called The Naked Face.
Oh, okay. Well, with Rod Steiger was kind of like it had kind of been years with Michael V. Gazzo and when you talk about breakout with oh my God, I'm drawing a blank, Bobby Duvall. The Godfather was only a few years before those films. So I'm wondering if Bronson's star power, I know he was a big star, and if not the biggest star in the world at the time.
Well, of course, sometimes you kind of have a luck in the draw after kind of being infamous, like Sterling Hayden was. I mean, I think towards the end of his career, he pretty much burned a lot of bridges, yet I think The Godfather was one of his last films.
And of course, let's not forget Strother Martin was in this, and we know who was also in Drumbeat and Hard Times with Charles Bronson and Target Zero. But he also dabbled in a lot of B films. He did one of my favorite B movies, Brotherhood of Satan. Any Brotherhood of Satan fans here?
Don't think I've seen that. I think the first time I ever saw Strother Martin was when he was a contestant on a Survivor-esque show on Gilligan's Island. And even though he wound up winning, the gist was that he communicated with, I guess, the game show people, and he wound up pitching the radio. And when everyone is kind of grousing about, oh, the guy cheated, and he's told that, we thought it'd be nice for you to open a secret panel on the radio, says, oh, well, we thought it'd be nice if you had that radio here with you, because that's where we had your prize money. And of course, Slapshot. Oh, and
Wild Bunch.
Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid, and Cool Hand Luke.
The Wild Bunch too.
Yeah, that's true.
Cool Hand Luke, that's one of what he's known for in that movie. The line, what we have here is a failure to communicate, is known. It was listed as one of the top, I believe, 11 most quotable and known.
And The Man Who Shot Liberty Valance as one of Lee
Yeah.
Marvin's stooges. I recall his line, move all the nominations be closed. And also the pseudo spaghetti western, Hannah Calder, starring Raquel Welch, along with the likes of Jack Elam, Ernest Borgnine, Christopher Lee, and Robert Culp.
Let's talk about this movie, shall we? So Bronson, it opens up. He's taking a nice Sunday drive into the coroner medical examiner's office, and to see a young lady who just fell victim to a hot shot, which is a shot of bad heroin, street drugs, and
Another one.
yeah, and he just says, "Keep me posted."
Yeah.
Would have been rather amusing for Jack Klugman to make a cameo, because I'm sure you know that Klugman and Bronson once upon a time were roommates when they were up and coming actors.
They
I remember
were.
hearing that. Yeah.
They were, and almost all these actors, these side actors in a lot of these Bronson movies, almost all of them were on Quincy at one time. But yeah, so he goes outside, and then he sees a patrol car just taking off down the street, being real,
Reckless.
reckless. That's the word. Thank you, David, for
You're
helping me.
welcome.
You get over 40, you learn that. So he chases the guy down. And then the guy gives him that was my old lady or something like that. You know,
I was gonna
real-
marry her.
Yeah, I was gonna marry her. Like that guy, he gave the performance of the film. He was really trying to kind of show off, I think.
Are you saying that his performance epitomized the film? Because then I agree with you.
Hey, but Charlie's response to him and says, "Let's get some coffee."
Yeah, I like that. I like
I
that they
loved
could
it.
go get coffee.
It sounded like he was going to be like sentimental and like a nice shoulder for this guy to cry on after this big thing that he went through, and he really just wanted to get coffee so he could be like, "Get your shit together."
No. You don't think let's get some coffee? That was given a shoulder. That today and age.
Well, see, that's the thing.
You're
It
just saying-
seems like it, but then we see what happens when he gets coffee. When he gets
Bronson-
coffee,
well,
he sits
Bronson
down
did
with them and is
seem-
like, "Shut up! Don't say anything."
Well, Bronson did seem to utilize a less is more approach. I mean, unlike a guy like William Shatner, who I think has been known for counting lines in scripts, and if he finds that a co-star has one more line than him, he goes ballistic. But Bronson, I heard when he'd do films that he would talk to the director and say, you know, instead of this humongous monologue, I'll just say a few lines. We'll cut to this guy. I mean, this guy will say something, and then you'll do a reaction shot of me or something like that.
Yeah, he definitely took a less is more, and he said he said in interviews, you know, that he liked to do that because he wanted to kind of be like more of a. He thought that too many people in film were showing weakness at the time, and I really think it's kind of the way. Let's Get Some Coffee was about his. Let's talk about our feelings as men got at those times. You know what I mean? Like, but did you know that actor is still alive, and he was a child star. He was on. I'm gonna find it here. Because I had a hell of a week and I didn't do a very good research. But all right, I can't find it. But it was like
Join the club.
it was like Father Knows Best. Yes, Father Knows Best. There it is. He was on Father Knows Best, which is Danny wouldn't know that because he's a teenager.
I've heard
But-
of it.
Yeah, I know you've heard of it. But yeah, he's really put so Bronson's character.
That coffee
Well-
line could have been used in St. Ives because I guess he played those kind of characters.
Yeah, and I kind of I think differently than a lot of people. I think what I thought was, oh, that's a cool job. You can just go get a coffee. You know what I mean? Like, I can't just do that in the middle of the day. That's kind of cool.
Yeah, both of
All
them
right.
were at work.
Right, they're at work. And then they go in and they're having a conversation. And he's trying to calm the guy down, Danny, because the guy's like shooting his mouth off about Joe Bomposa and how he's gonna go get vengeance. And he's like, just telling me that you're what I forget exactly what he says, but you see the van pull up behind him.
Yeah.
And you know that the car is getting wired to get blown up. Right. And then what happens? Oh, and he says to him, promise me you'll cool down. And then he blows up. His car
It gets
blows
heated
up.
up.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you guys think that was on purpose? I don't think we were at that era of film yet where they did that kind of.
It's probably
Well, I think-
unintentional.
Well, I think by this time, Rod Steiger had probably proven to be considerably almost hammy to an extent. And I guess he was leaning in that direction with Duck You Sucker, also known as Fistful of Dynamite. And I guess I'm wondering if he sought to use the role in Love and Bullets for his Cuban Godfather role in The Specialist. I mean, I know that I'm going miles away in opposite directions, but
You are, but that's actually something that's been brought up in our Facebook page. Actually, a guy that left the page, he brought that up several times. Andrew E, that basically plays the same character in both movies. And Roger Ebert, who I often find his reviews of these movies, he did talk about Steiger's overacting in the film. What do what did you guys think of Steiger's acting? Ryan, what did you think?
I thought it was delightful. I mean, I know the guy's over the top. I know that he gets wild all the time. And Robert had mentioned earlier, he was, of course, in Amityville Horror, and horror is my primary genre. And he plays this priest, Father Delaney, in it. And he yells at everything in that movie.
Yeah.
He
Yeah.
yells at the flies, he yells at the church, and he yells at his superiors, and it's wonderful. So
That's the best part of the movie too, when he yells at them.
yeah.
Oh yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I think at
So
times I'm
my-
almost tempted to kind of cut Rod Steiger's slack because even though I was kind of late in the game to appreciating Bronson as an actor, I usually had the impression Bronson usually makes anyone look like a good actor.
Oh,
I
well,
mean,
you know,
I've since changed my mind about that.
well, you know, it's funny that so. Can you get out of here? I'm sorry, my 7-year-old son is here.
We have a
Um,
surprise guest.
Yeah. It's funny that we're doing this movie, talk about Steiger, because when I started this podcast, I wanted to do a podcast where I got to talk about pop culture and film and music and whatever. But the only thing I know a lot about is Bronson. And I remember thinking, well, if I talk about Bronson, I could talk about Rod Steiger. I could talk about, and boom, 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 boom. But the first name was Rod Steiger, because as many great character actors as he worked with, this character was the one when I was a kid that was the first one that I said, what's that guy's name? Because when you're a
Hmm.
kid, you don't care like you do when you're older. And some people never care. My wife doesn't know the names of actors and people like that. Me, I watch a show now. I got to know who's playing the gas station attendant, everything. But he was the first guy, that character, Joe Bonposa. As a kid, I said, I got to know who that guy is.
Do you like him
So-
as a stuttering gangster?
I do. I do. I do see how Roger Ebert thought it was overacting. And you know what? What the hell? We're going to bounce all over tonight because I'm very unprepared anyway. But Jill Ireland, I remember as a kid thinking, this is the worst acting I've ever seen.
I've often thought that she, for the longest time, was the epitome of a lousy actress until I think that someone who usurps that title from her is Brigitte Nielsen.
Mhm. Well, I feel like this time around watching the movie, I feel like I don't feel that it was that bad of an acting job anymore.
Hmm.
I feel like she was playing. I feel like as I get older, like when I watch,
Well, it's not
something-
as bad as, say, Death Wish 2 or Assassination.
No, I don't think. I think, and Paul says in his book, I think it was Paul said it was her worst role. But I don't think so. And you know what I mean? And this is my show, and I'll say what I want. You know what I mean?
I
If
mean,
I think
it's not exactly like a deep character. Like
right,
there's no real development to her, the character. She just is. Like I kept expecting there to be like oh, she's been lying. She has a secret. She has something, but really she's just a lady.
yeah.
Well, I think that when you have a cast of those names, it almost seems to be almost, dare I say, almost a Euro version of a Irwin Allen casting. I mean, even though the names are not exactly akin to, say, the lineup of the Towering Inferno or the Poseidon Adventure. I mean, Bronson, Steiger, Silva, Martin, and Ireland do have some coin, even though it's probably perhaps of less value than the star billing of the Delta Force, which Bronson was actually once supposed to star in, but he stepped out and Lee Marvin wound up doing his last film with them.
Now, let's talk about the man who produced this because, and I read a lot about this movie in Paul's book and in another Bronson book that I got. And the most interesting thing about this movie is the man who produced it, Sir Lou Grade. And he's a sir because he was knighted. He's an
ITC Entertainment.
ITC Entertainment, yes, and he was a TV mogul over in England. Well, before that, he was a dancer. He danced.
Well,
on
I know he
tele-
produced The Saint, The Muppet Show, and Space 1999, among others, and the Muppet, and actually Orson Welles plays a character who is basically supposed to be Lou Grade in the Muppet movie. And of course, the film Saturn III. I'm not sure if anyone recalls that title.
Love that.
I wasn't aware of that because he sounds like a really cool character. He smoked cigars all day. He was a showbiz guy. He wanted he wanted to take his money from TV and he wanted to put it into films. He went to Cannes, however you say it, in 1976, and he threw a wild party announcing a film deal with Bronson that only turned into this one film. He did some good films, but he did more flops than anything. Part of his deal was he was going to make $1.98, which was Bronson's outline about his life growing up in PA, in the coal mining town of Ehrenfeld. Something that Bronson was working on his whole career that never ever came to fruition. But Lou Grade, I mean, had already announced Paul Williams was to play Jill Ireland's Baptist brother, and he was going to write songs for her to sing in the movie, which I never knew she sang. He was
Well,
supposed
she
to-
sang in, I'm not sure if any of you have ever seen From Noon Till Three.
Of course, yeah, that's right. You're right. She did sing in that.
And music was in the family because I think one of their sons, I think Valentine McCallum, well, actually through her marriage to David McCallum,
David
did the
McCallum,
music
yeah.
for a couple of Bronson's films. I think
Murphy's Law.
Murphy's Law and
Death Wish 4.
4.
4, yeah. And I think maybe he might have been involved in another one too.
Messenger of Death. Don't know.
Possibly right around that era. David, do you happen to know or no?
I don't know.
Oh, I thought I heard you talking. I'm sorry.
Nope.
He was supposed to make an action movie with Sophia Loren, and he was supposed to do a TV movie called
I think-
Maximilian and
I
Juarez.
think the film that he was supposed to do with Loren was called Firepower, which James Coburn wound up doing.
That does sound familiar. And he was supposed to do Maximilian and Juarez, a TV movie. They were hoping to make it like Raid on Entebbe, where it would be like a mini series, but then they could cut it down and release it into theaters,
Well,
Like
I
in-
think in 91, he did that TV movie, Yes, Virginia, where he was the guy who became famous because I'm not sure if he was a newsman or I'm not sure if he's the editor or just a newspaper scribe who supposedly the story of some kid who I think that he played ironically a widower who I think his faith is renewed or reestablished in his efforts to work on this story. I think it also had Richard Thomas of the Waltons, maybe Ed Asner too.
Yeah.
Yeah, we actually did. We
Yep.
did that one. We did an episode.
And then
on
there was
that.
the Family of Cops films, which was the last thing he did. Oh, The Sea Wolf with Christopher Reeve and
The
Catherine Mary
Sea-
Stewart.
The Seawolf was good. I wouldn't consider like a mini series like Raid on Entebbe in the same vein as like Family of Cops, which is more just like a kitschy poppy Sunday night movie that really like my pop-up and grandma would have watched. I mean, I watched, of course, as a big Bronson fan, but
Well, speaking of family entertainment, we can only wonder what it would have been like had he said yes to doing City Slickers, because I'm not sure if Paul notes that in his book that Bronson was the first guy who they contacted because Billy Crystal had the idea of having him play Curly. I'm not sure if he simultaneously said Bronson or Jack Palance, but we know who wound up getting the role and who wound up getting the Oscar. And actually, Bronson, I think, called up Crystal and he pretty much mouthed off in bad language that he didn't think, he thought it was a lousy script. Or it was just a lousy part.
he also turned down a role in Billy Madison with Adam Sandler. Did you guys
Wow.
know that?
Yeah, yeah.
Oh yeah, it was supposed to be the father, right?
Yeah, I don't think he understood comedy.
But
What do
I
you-
recall having read somewhere when they were casting for the first Superman film, he was amusingly one of the names suggested. But I recall where I read that someone thought that with his looks, he would have been a shoo-in to play Bizarro.
Yeah, I read that too. So Golan Globus, they had some zany ideas. I
Too many to
cannot
count.
I like Bronson, but I can't see him as Superman at all.
Me neither.
David, what do you think of Bronson as Superman?
No, I can't see it. I can't
Oh.
see that.
Up and away. It's a bird. Forget it. So
It's
what
a
happens
bird.
next? So the car blows up, and so then the FBI comes, right, and they want Bronson to watch. They want to show him a movie, right?
Yeah.
Does that
Actually, I
sound-
think in the early 70s, Bronson did guest on the FBI, the Quinn Martin show.
Okay. Well, I'm talking about in the actual movie, Love and Bullets. I think he actually guested on guested. This is really, he actually guests on a lot of very old shows. He had a very long career. But yeah, so the FBI shows up. They want him to see a video. That's where we get to see Jill Ireland's acting chops. I think her character was supposed to be a little bit of
The Dits.
a ditz and comic relief a little bit too, I believe. And
I mean,
Dan,
she was hilarious.
and Danny, I'm going to fax you the segment in the book where Jill Ireland talks about her method and doing that character. And when I read all that, she actually was told where her character was supposed to be from, and she looked into she actually did research, and there was a whole thing, and I was like, and you know what? Maybe I'm just like too much of a pushover, but when I read something like that, I go, okay, all right, yeah, maybe I could see. Wow, she really was doing something with this character, but whatever. You know what I mean? You can trash me all you want with that.
Yeah,
haircut.
she was busy listening to Tammy Wynette and only Tammy Wynette.
And only stand by your man.
Yeah,
Well, actually, Tammy
she
Wynette.
brought 145 to Switzerland.
It was 1977 or something.
Travel light.
You don't remember what it was like. I remember. I was a kid. I was a little bit kid. I had only a couple of 45s.
I'd bring at least a whole record.
It wasn't always that easy. It wasn't, was it? Who's old as me? David, you're as old as me. It
Yep.
wasn't always that easy, was it? You had
Hell
to-
no. Hell no.
No. Tammy Wynette was all we had.
Not even a B-side.
But anyway, they watched the video, they watched the film, they tell him they want him to go bring her in, which that never made sense to me. Why would they set a feet? Is that a thing that would really happen in real life? They'd set
Hell
a feet,
no.
right? A Phoenix, but that doesn't matter when you're watching a film. But they're sending the FBI is sending a Phoenix cop because
I loved that. That's such a fun movie premise of
right.
there's only one man for the job and he's in Phoenix.
Right. I mean, it was fun. Oh, and how about we're going to be all over the place tonight. What about the musical score by Silo? How do you say his name? Bossinger, help me out. Skylo
that's a-
Schifrin.
Lalo
Skylo Schifrin.
Schifrin?
Lalo
Lalo-
Schifrin.
What is it?
Lalo-
Lilo Schifrin. That's a good musical score. It's and the way the movie opens with Switzerland and then it pans back and forth. But anyway, I'm getting out the music. He's the only man that can do the job. He's a Phoenix cop. What was up with Phoenix at that time? Phoenix was popping up in a lot of action movies back then.
Yeah, the Gauntlet
It was their
was
Phoenix
Phoenix.
project.
Right. So they can't is that true? The FBI can't operate outside of America, or is that just they said that for the movie?
Wouldn't stuff beyond the borders of the United States fall into CIA territory?
Probably.
Not if
yeah,
you
but
ask them.
but they were busy. So they had to get Charles Bronson, Phoenix cop. And then he goes. Oh, and then he sent a guy to follow him. Right.
How much of this do you think was Charles Bronson going to somebody and going, get me and my wife to Switzerland? However it happens, let's do it.
Well, you know what? It might be, I'll tell you what, whether or not he had that kind of pull, once they were there, he had the pool, enough pull to not only did he get 1.5 million for the picture, which was astronomical at the time, but they had to fly his whole family in. They had their own floor of this beautiful hotel. And when right before they went,
It's a steal compared to Brando.
right? And once
It is enough money for a hit, though. I saw it in the movie.
Well, no, but once they went there, right before they went there, somebody's daughter, a 5-year-old girl, Graziella Ortiz, was kidnapped. So Bronson was freaked out that his daughter, who was 7 at the time, Zulika, might get kidnapped. So he insisted no unauthorized personnel on set, no press announcement that he was going to be there. So he had a lot of pull. And that was Thanksgiving of 1977. They spent that there in Switzerland. How do you like that?
Not
So
bad.
anyway, yeah. So you go over there, we see Lobo, we see Paul Koslow's back. Paul Koslow's he's been wandering in and out of Bronson movies for the latter part of the 70s, it seemed like. Is that correct? He was
In fact, the third one.
yeah. And
And eventually Robert Lyons kind of took that place, I'm presuming.
yeah. And Koslow had some interesting things to say in Talbot's book. He had some bad things to say about Bronson. He said he introduced himself to Bronson by making fun of him. He said, "Hey, Charlie, did you hear the joke about the Polish actor?" And Charlie said, "No." He goes, "Charles Buczynski," which I don't know. He thought that was funny. So it sounds like Paul Koslow was kind of like his characters, like kind of like a little like annoying guy.
Little
So-
douchebag.
Right. But he said Bronson was kind of a dick to him. No, he had fights with him on Stone Killer. He was rude to people. And then
Well,
he
I
said-
heard somewhere from James Garner, albeit a different thing, was that I think on the set of The Great Escape, when they were playing cards and I guess, pitching in pennies, that I think there was a guy on the crew who didn't exactly have a lot of wealth. And I think that Garner was saying to Bronson, "Hey, he's basically doing this to just kind of like supplement his earnings." And I'm not sure if Bronson wound up relinquishing what he had taken off the guy, but I gather Garner and Bronson were not exactly the closest of friends. And I heard somewhere Vincent Price said that I could talk to anyone except for Charles Bronson.
Well, Bronson wasn't an easy guy to get along with from what most people say, but then we'll get those rare people like Jan Gamboyd who had a great relationship with him. But what I wanted to get to about Paul Koslow is he said by Love and Bullets, he said after Love and Bullets, he would run into Bronson at like events and stuff. And he said he was great. He was cordial. So it's a strange, he seems to like, maybe he's just not fun to work with. I don't know, especially as a man. I feel like he got along with women and children from what it seems like.
That seems to be the stories we keep getting from people.
Yeah.
Right. And to talk about talk about James Garner and then playing poker. Like you start talking about James Garner and I'm thinking, all right, I was talking about Paul Koslow. But you know what?
Sorry.
But no, it's okay. You kind of walked right into another story about Bronson was talking to the press. And he said that he likes to play poker with his kids. And he says, if I win, I give them their allowance. He goes, but if I win it, I keep it. I don't know. So, and that was in the chapter for this movie in the book. So I assume that he said that. Well, so, everything kind of comes back full circle with Charlie. So Charlie's casing out the place, right? Does he he doesn't get Jill Ireland yet, right? He goes back to his hotel. That's where he meets Lobo, right? Is that
Well,
what
there was
happened?
like 40 minutes before they even meet each other.
Right. They run in with Lobo.
Oh, right, where he sneaks
At the
up behind
hotel?
him. Yeah.
Yeah. And then I believe, what was Paul Koslow's character's name? He kills Lobo, right? On the train.
On the bus. Yeah, he kills him on
Yeah.
the bus.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Hunts. That was Hunts.
Yeah. And so, and that's where he gets the information. He calls, and he's got that horrible, that voice. He calls Bomposer, right? He's like, Lobo, he's like yelling. Lobo is on a take or whatever the hell he says. Remember that part?
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a lot of this movie that if you ask me to get specific, I literally finished it as we started. And if you ask me to
Right.
get specific, I'm like, I don't know.
Yeah, this is like this was a rough week for me. Like the tons and tons of research I usually do. I really I watched this movie. I've seen this movie a million times, but I have to watch it once or twice before I do one of these episodes and take a lot of
Yeah, you got to get the critical eye open.
Yeah, and I really had like a tough week at work, and I had to prepare for an interview, which I think I may have gotten, I hopefully got this position at my job. So
Nice.
yeah. But yeah, I'm not, this is going to be a sloppy episode, but we're going to talk about some
We're
fun
doing it.
stuff. Yeah, we're doing it, right, Vossinger?
So far, so
Passenger.
good.
Yeah,
Yo,
what do you
okay.
do? Oh man, now
That
the
makes me
electric
laugh
went out.
every time it happens.
What, it happened before?
It's the second time. Yeah.
For those of
Yeah,
for those of you listening out there in Radio Land, Vossinger's the light keeps going off wherever the hell he's
Yeah, for anyone
Metaphorical or
wondering why I
literal?
randomly cracked up earlier, it's because all of a sudden he disappeared and showed up as a ghost.
because he's in like one of those bathrooms. Are you in a bathroom stall? What's
I'm in the
going on? The light-
classroom, and it looks like this here everywhere in the building. And anytime you're in your classroom, if there's not a human being actively moving, after
Lights
like
go out.
30, 40 minutes, the lights go out. Absolutely. Yeah.
Gotta save
Can I
that
talk
money.
about Paul Kozlo for a sec?
Yeah.
I fully expected Paul Kozlo in this to be humiliated. I figured as soon as this guy's in the movie, he's going to be subject to all sorts of like little moments where he's mocked, he's ridiculed, and it really didn't happen as much as I thought it would. But of course, when you get to the end of the movie, his finale, he does get a little humiliated there.
What,
So,
Yeah.
wasn't
yeah,
Kozlo a contract player at Universal? I seem to recall having seen his name in the credits, Battlestar Galactica and the Incredible Hulk.
You
Oh,
know what?
maybe.
He did do a lot of television. So, and I do think he did do the Incredible Hulk. I think I did read that somewhere. But
It was
did he
on that
fo-
episode when Denny Miller was the out of control football player who pretty much felt a need to kind of virtually maim anyone he was on the field with.
Oh. Hey, did Paul Kozlo fart in the car? That's what I want to know. Do you guys know what I'm talking
Yes,
about?
yes, I think he did.
I
He did.
I would say yes, but I don't have a confident answer, but I would say yes.
Charles Bronson's my favorite actor. I love this movie. And I rewound that scene 4 times to try to figure out what the hell was going on. Because the woman played by Lorraine Chase, who's also a very interesting character, who's still alive because she was like 12 when she did that movie. A model, but who's best known for English soap operas and game shows. She kind of laughs and smiles too. So I thought, well, did she fart? Did they both fart? You know?
There was no
It was just their
campfire
little
scene.
Blazing Saddles scene.
Right. David, Mr.
Yes.
Majestic Middleburg, what happens next? Lobo gets killed. I think do they have the meeting where they're trying to talk Steiger, Joe Pomposa, into having Joe Ireland killed?
Oh yeah, that's what they have. Those group of guys are there, and they're saying he should have her killed, but he wants it like, I want it clean, I want it quick.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
and they're
Don't want her to feel anything.
and you know what stuck out to me was, even as a kid, how big that piece of shrimp was, the one bad guy was holding. And remember that, because they go and start eating, and of course he flips it. You guys, you want to eat? Eat! And he flips the
And he lifts
table
the
over.
table, yeah.
And the table flips over in slow motion. And all that food, I was like, man, what a waste. But that was a big shrimp. Huh? That's
I-
probably why Paul Kozlo was farting.
Well, they're talking a story about how they cut off someone's fingers. Like, I don't want no one's finger cut off. I want it clean. I want it quick. No fingers cut off. And he
Yeah,
just goes on and on.
But-
Definitely not finger licking good.
Yeah.
Well, his people were kind of idiots because they know he doesn't want her killed. He's telling them that he loves her. And they go and walk away, and they're like a foot away, and they're like, start talking about the calling card of sending a finger. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, so they were kind of idiots for that. But so he agrees to it.
Well, a severed finger, if you recall, slightly obtuse, what one of the punks presents to Lee Van Cleef and the police force as a sign they've nabbed the president and escaped from New York.
Oh,
true.
yeah.
Yeah.
Now, I believe I might be jumping ahead a little bit, but I can't be here all night. That's the theme. That's the theme of the show. I can't be here all night. Then we see Henry Silva's character, correct, with
Yep.
Lorraine Chase, who's pretty smoking. I'm gonna try to get her on the show. She's only 71, which is like a kid. in these Bronson movies. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
yeah.
It really is.
I wish I would have
you
thought of
see
this
him,
when,
and
when Henry Silva was a guest on this radio show in Philadelphia.
really, what show was he a
It
guest
was
on?
many years ago on 1210. There was a guy who went by the on-air moniker of Mr. Movie. He had a show which lasted for a number of years from 9 p.m. Saturday nights till 6 or 6:30 Sunday morning. And I guess Silva was a phone-in guest. And I mentioned, I think Above the Law, which I guess it was a couple years after that. He might have been kind of doing on a publicity jaunt because I think Dick Tracy had come out recently or something like that, and so I guess he was doing some appearances for that, and I think I might have mentioned his appearance on Buck Rogers, the pilot where he played Kane, the role that was later played by Michael Ansara.
Who was in Assassination with
Oh
Charles
yeah, that's
Bronson,
right.
and who was good friends with Charles Bronson, and who was married to Barbara Eden.
Yeah, well, his first wife anyway. Well,
Right.
his second wife rather.
And friend of the show and fellow Philadelphia comedian John Kensel, I believe, I think he was on that Mr. Movie show before or something like that. I have to ask him. I know that he definitely. I might be thinking of somebody else, but I do remember Mr. Movie. Yeah. So all right, so we see Henry Silva, which is exciting, right? It's exciting when you see Henry Silva show
He's
up, right?
awesome.
Always.
He is awesome.
Yeah, yeah.
And for a minute there in the film, I thought it was going to be awesome. And I'm going to jump to it where they're on the train, because Henry Silva's, character and one of his henchmen, or Paul Kozlov, follow them onto the train, the auto train. And then there's that scene where they go through the tunnel, and Charles Bronson's character is able to just go up. This guy's supposed to be the top hitman out there, and Charles Bronson's character is able to just go up and like kind of wipe
Sneaking around cars.
Yes, to sneak a look into their car and see what's going on. You remember that?
Yeah.
I think
yeah.
Silva was so focused on trying to look as much like Jim Jones as possible that he couldn't be bothered.
Oh man,
Somebody
he
was
really
picking up on him.
does.
He pulled it off. Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
all I could think the entire movie. He looks like Jim Jones.
So Bronson, knows that they're coming to get them. And there's a really cool scene where he drives a Peugeot off of the train, and it's driven by stunt driver Remy Julien, who's known for
Worked on the Bond films.
Yep, for Bond films, The Italian Job. And there's another chance, like with Henry Silva. Oh, we have Remy Julien, and he just drives it into like a fence, like an electrical thing. That was kind of like, that wasn't that cool, right? I felt like that could have been cooler.
Way cooler.
Yeah.
A little underwhelming, yeah.
And there's also a fight scene on those ski lift type things, or whatever they're called, that was cut out.
Gondolas.
Yeah, that was cut out.
I
of the
kept
movie.
expecting something to happen there, but it was just like, oh, what a nice ride.
It got cut out. There was supposed to be a fight scene. It was filmed, but it got cut out.
That makes more sense.
Yeah. The more I talk about it, the more I start to see why people don't like this movie.
Yeah. Not that I wanted there to be more movie, but it felt like there was something that wasn't there. So it makes sense that there actually wasn't something there.
I just enjoy this. I enjoy the film. I enjoy the people in it. I'm not real picky. I love movies, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But there is a part to me where it starts to like lose its steam, which a lot of his choices seem to do. I mean, the man was the biggest star in the world at a time, and I really think his star could have shone brighter longer had he made better decisions. But I also feel like this movie too took him into a different atmosphere. And I think people at that time, after Death Wish, they wanted to see him in a grittier New York or LA type locale. What do you guys think? Do you think that the locale and the and that feeling of like, even though he was a Phoenix cop, he was doing like CIA type work. It kind of had a different feel than a lot of his movies. More of like an adventure, almost like a Bond, but not nowhere near James Bond. But
See, that's
Well,
the
I
thing.
know.
Go ahead.
Well, I know that many years earlier, I think the Golden Globes, I'm not sure at what point in Bronson's career it was, he and Connery both got the Golden Globe for Best Actor, or maybe it was Best Newcomer. And so I guess they sort of had an equal kind of footing, even though Connery obviously was a better actor. I mean, they both had pretty much humble, very tough upbringings. And so I think in some ways, Bronson was more or less sort of, I guess, in the same vein to an extent as Connery, even though I'm sure most people, they don't think of Connery playing tough guy. I mean, okay, they think of James Bond, but they don't think of a guy who came up from the, well, opposite side of the tracks. But
right. And here's something too. Skipping around like a maniac tonight. Rod Steiger and Michael V. Gazzo were both in another one of my favorite movies, On the Waterfront.
mhm.
Yeah.
Although I believe Michael V. Gazzo was uncredited.
There were a number of actors, and I think Fred Gwynn was uncredited in that film.
It's very strange to me when people are uncredited in films. I found recently, remember when Bronson is busted out of jail in Mr. Majestic? There's the African-American gentleman on the bus with him. You guys remember him?
Al Lettieri, I
Yeah.
think was his
Mhm.
name.
No, Al Lettieri
Right.
is the Italian guy.
Sorry.
Now I'm talking about the black guy. That guy was uncredited, and he had like a lot. He had like
It's a fairly pivotal role, at least at that point in
Yes.
the movie. Yeah. Up
And
until
they-
that point, you kind of feel like that guy's going to be part of it, but then he's not.
Yeah.
But
and he just he looks great, and he just received some kind of daytime Emmy. He's been on some soap opera for years.
oh, good for him.
Yeah, and I thought, wow, but
Humble beginnings.
uncredited, like, and he had all those lines. Believe it's the same guy talking to Bronson in the jail. The one that
I thought
said
so.
no.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's weird, right? Why would that be uncredited?
That's really strange because that's a significant role.
Well, Sean
But-
Connery wasn't credited in Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves. I know that was by his choice, but
Yeah, I wasn't either.
Yeah, it was my choice not to ever be in a movie. Also, I mean, going to the Bond thing, I think that's kind of what worked against this movie for me, where like the setting and the feel felt like there should be some more like
Right.
double cross and espionage and like all this kind of stuff. Like up until the point, like at the end, well, I'll jump there. We don't have to stay at
Just
the end, but
Go
like-
ahead. Just jump there.
even then, it's not the end. I kind of assumed because there was so much movie left after she gets shot that it was all a plot to get her out. That they faked it,
Right.
and then when he's driving away, I kind of expected her to pop up and them to ride off into the sunset. And now it's such an unsatisfying
It's so disappointing, especially as a kid. Like, you want to see your hero save the day, and he just never happened with love interests for Bronson.
But on the matter of, questioning, can a Phoenix cop be put in an international assignment? I don't think the KGB are noted for being international agents, and yet in Telefon, Bronson was sent from Russia to the States.
He should have brought that up in this movie.
Sorry.
If he should have been like, hey, when I was a Russian KGB agent, I was able to do this. No.
Oh, that would be awesome if he just retired to Phoenix to be a cop, and he was like, "Oh, they're sending me back."
If he
Change
just
the
like
name.
he just broke he just referenced other movies. But no, I know. They just kind of make up the shit as they go along.
Call me Mr. Meta.
Yeah. But I really I like this. I really like this movie until we start talking about it. And now you really got me thinking.
But see, I'm kind of going the other way. 'Cause, I got plenty of joy out of it. It's not like I had a miserable time watching it. But now
Yeah.
that
Likewise.
yeah, talking it out though, I'm like, oh, maybe I did actually kind of like it. Like
Right.
there's enough there to latch onto, even though it's not good. Like it's just I don't think I'll ever come all the way around, but like I'm
I
finding more to connect to than I thought I would in the conversation.
I feel like the chance of me watching it again soon I is pretty big, pretty good because I always went back. It was one of the ones that was outside of the canon universe that I went back to time and time again with as a kid. Um, let's we'll sum up the whole rest of the movie, but let's Vossinger. What would your overall feelings on this movie?
I went on IMDb, and of course they have a 10-star scale there. So I gave it about a 6.5 is what I'd put it at. It's good. It's enjoyable, I would say.
Right.
Yeah.
As Danny was kind of saying, I don't know that I can like flat out call it good. Kind of getting back to the idea of the scenery and it looking like a Bond movie. When they were over in Switzerland, I actually kind of little made a note of that. Like this looks like on Her Majesty's Secret Service, and I was thinking
Yes.
Lazenby throughout that part of
Yeah.
the movie.
I thought when she got shot at the end,
Yeah,
I thought of Lazenby and I looked at Bronson. I was like, dude, show some emotion. Like I know, I know it's Charles Bronson. I know, but I was just like, I was expecting that we had our whole life ahead of our whatever he said.
we have all the time in the world.
All
yeah.
the time in the world.
James
that-
Bond quote.
My favorite James Bond film, by the way.
It's
One
great.
of them. Yeah.
Well, actually, the director Peter Hunt did do Death Hunt.
Yes, he did, and he
Yeah.
did Assassination as well, which was a real stinker. Right, but I also enjoy. I also
Yeah,
enjoy. it,
We'll
you know?
get to it.
Yeah. Well, we talked to Janky and Boyd,
That's true.
but we talked to Juan Fernandez, and we really do need to do a Kinshasa episode.
So
with-
I watched Assassination, but we talked about it a little bit, I guess, but we kind of skirted the issue by having her on the show.
Well, when you have a guest on, and for me to get guests, although she was more than happy to talk about Charles Bronson, but I always tell them in my emails or whatever, you can talk about anything you're working on, whatever, because we just happy to have somebody
Yeah.
that worked with Bronson. So yeah, I don't consider the episodes with the stars to be where we break down the whole movie and everything. And speaking of what we do on here, we do usually like to talk about what was on TV that night. I think we went with January 26, 1979. What did you have for us, Vossinger?
Give me one sec. I can bring that back up once more. Primetime TV, January 26, 1979. CBS gave us Wonder Woman, the series premiere of the Dukes of Hazzard. I'm not a huge Dukes fan, but I get the cultural importance of it. Fun stuff.
Just the
Dallas
good
Cable-
old boys.
There you go. Thank you, David.
Hey, no problem.
ABC, we had All-Star Family Feud. Richard Dawson hosting Dick Van Patten, Meredith Baxter Burney, and Haywood Nelson.
Hey,
Followed by The Pink Panther Strikes Again.
Great movie.
NBC gave us
hold up. Pink Panther Strikes Again, Sir Lou Grade film, I believe.
Oh,
I think. Move on.
I thought that all the Pink Panthers were put out by UA. Walter Mirisch produced them. I mean, I know that. Well, maybe I'm wrong.
This
I think
Sir,
that
this
Return
Sir,
of the Pink Panther, I thought was done by IT Lou Grade.
that might have been it. It might have been Return of the Pink Panther. That might have been it. But whatever. Hey, Sir Lou Grade did a Pink Panther movie. Anything else?
NBC gave us Different Strokes.
Oh,
After
What you
I
talking
saw
about, Vossinger?
yeah, I
Yeah.
went to YouTube and then played like the opening, the theme intro to Different Strokes like 10 times in a row. Just, had a couple of drinks, enjoyed myself. After Different Strokes, we get to Brothers and Sisters, which I had to look up, and it's a shitty Animal House ripoff. It was one of the
oh
few that-
yeah. There was a couple of those.
yeah.
They tried to
I
make
thought Delta House was the crummy ripoff.
that was one of them too. That was
Yeah.
one of them too. There, I just learned this recently from another podcast. They were talking to Oh my God, somebody that was in the film, Animal House. And there was actually 3 attempts to make TV shows of that movie. So there you go.
We also had a show that premiered that night called Turnabout. The only cool thing about that I could think of is that Stephen Bochco wrote the first episode,
Oh,
and I love that guy. And Richard Crenna directed the first episode.
Wow, there you
Randall-
go.
Right. Then we get to a show called Hello Larry, I've never heard of, and then a show called
Hello, Larry.
Sweepstakes.
That starred McLean Stevenson in MASH.
Oh, there, cool, good actor. Yeah.
It was very short-lived, and I guess you could have said goodbye, Larry, just as soon as that.
It sounds like a
Last-
fun. It sounds like a fun show. Hello, Larry. Right?
I mean, it sounds
Oh,
like
look
it
at
would be.
this. Wow, look at this. I'm looking it up. It looks.
I think that Stevenson got more gigs hosting a Tonight Show, substitute hosting a Tonight Show than episodes of that show.
He was a radio host. It looks like it looks like Frasier.
But he somehow thought that when he left MASH that Hollywood would come calling, and I guess all he heard was a lot of crickets.
I find that my favorite Bronson movies premiered on a night that Benson was playing. Was Benson playing?
No, the
Bum,
last
bum, bum,
was the
bum,
show
ba-da, bum.
That's why this movie was a flop. It didn't have the Benson bump.
I know, man. It really needed that. Yeah, last one up was Sweepstakes, starring Adam Arkin and my guy, the man, the myth, the legend, Fish himself, Abe Vigoda.
Oh, that sounds
Very
like a good one.
short-lived show.
Now you know what I like to do sometimes when we do these shows.
He
I
was
like
in The
to-
Godfather as well.
There you go.
That's
Yeah, I
and
like
Good
to.
Burger.
I like to. Yeah, Good Burgers. Yeah, listen, don't knock Good Burger.
It's a good movie.
It is a good movie. Keenan and Kel are great.
yeah.
But like I'll go like what I'll do is I'll be like, okay, so we're doing a Peter Hunt movie. I'm gonna watch a non-Bronson Peter Hunt movie, or I'm gonna watch a non-Bronson Stuart Rosenberg movie. But I think what I'm gonna start doing is
How about a
watching-
non-Bronson J. Lee Thompson film like Guns and Everything?
Yeah, right, exactly.
Firewalker.
I like to do something like that just to get an idea. And I didn't get a chance to do this, but I've seen Cool Hand Luke a zillion times. But I'm thinking I might dive into some of these TV programs that we're on, especially a movie with Abe Vigoda and Alan Arkin. Now I
Adam
wonder Adam Arkin, I'm sorry. What did I say? Oh, anyway.
Alan,
Well, I
he's a
wanna-
fire.
Or a
I wanna
John
know-
Sturgis movie without, I'm not sure what did John Sturgis do that didn't have Bronson in it?
What
That's
did he-
not the thing.
Okay.
Well, John Sturgis did The Great Escape. He did The Magnificent
Oh,
Seven.
yes, The Great Escape, Magnificent Seven. John Huston was supposed to direct Love and Bullets. You think I think it would have been better if John Huston directed it?
Hmm.
I saw that some like he shot some and like some of those scenes might still be in the movie, and I was trying to figure out like, oh, what part did he do in this?
Right. Now, if you were, let's just say you didn't go to see Love and Bullets, like, and it sounds like a lot of people didn't, but you were out cruising around in your Trans Am that night. What music would you be listening to, David Middleberg?
Well, the top 10 at that time for that week was number 10. We had September by Earth, Wind, and Fire. Number 9 was Everyone's a Winner by Hot Chocolate. I don't think I know that one. Hold the Line by Toto was number 8.
Oh,
Number-
good one.
Number
Love is
That was
seven,
an 80s song.
yeah.
Love isn't always on time.
Number 7 was Ooh Baby Baby was a remake by Linda Ronstadt, which I do like. Number 6, Little More Love by Olivia Newton-John.
Mm.
Number 5 was My Life by Billy Joel. 4, Do You Think I'm Sexy by Rod Stewart. 3, one of the songs I hate most of all, YMCA by the Village People. Number 2, Too Much Heaven by the Bee Gees. And number 1, La Freak by Chic.
So if I could just say something a little embarrassing here, I was 4 years old when this movie came out. And I believe my first and only 45 I owned at the time was YMCA by the Village People. So if I was in the Swiss Alps waiting for my hero to come save me, that's what I would be listening to.
Really?
I was a 4-year-old boy. I didn't know the whole backstory. And I wouldn't, but that doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. I mean, if I like a song that has that backstory, I will listen to it today.
Right.
So
I
I
just
took it
don't-
upon myself in this this kind of realizing how many different release dates this had to look up the American release date on the charts. And
Right.
only wanted to mention it because My Sharona was #1 and that song rules.
I think it does rule. In fact, I think the show should just fade out with My Sharona.
Yeah, we're American here.
But listen, let's just all sing it.
We're all just a little delayed.
Listen,
My
this is-
Sharona.
this is our best
Oh, my
episode
little
ever.
hungry one. I'm Weird Alling.
Oh, my little titty one. I
I don't recall the lyrics. Make it a solo.
Never gonna stop. You're so low you can't hear it. Oh. Oh,
When I was a kid in school, back in grade school, and that song was popular, I had a friend who called it My Scrotum.
oh my God. You know what?
Stupid.
I'm surprised.
Could
I
have been
never-
Weird Al. I saw the movie. My Sharona was such a big part of it.
All right, let's listen. Hey, listen to this. All right, we're all like what? How old are you, Robert Baum?
I just hit 53 2 days before Christmas.
All right, so we're all kind of like we're
Old.
we're spread out, but we all know Weird Al. Weird Al was a big part of all our lives.
Accurate.
Did you guys ever attempt to write a Weird Al type song? And if you did, what was it? And I'll tell you mine. And it wasn't very good.
Well, the closest thing I ever did was I attempted to write a film review in rap about the film 8 Mile, which I hadn't seen and I still haven't seen.
I would love to read that or hear that, but not right this second. but-
There's no movie. There's no Mackay Pfeiffer. That's the
But
only line that references the movie.
But I love that you didn't see the movie, and that takes balls. I like that. So nobody ever attempted that as a kid.
I honestly, I don't have one. Like
Uh.
I'm sure I had like a chorus here and there, but like I never like sat down to like put the effort in.
You want to hear? Oh no, I didn't put effort in. I
And
just had
actually,
the,
when I was
just
in
had
prep
the
school,
name.
when I was in prep school, I think because the Super Bowl shuffle was so much of a thing with the Chicago Bears, I actually sought to write a straight A rap, but I guess I realized a couple of lines repeated, so I thought, no, that won't work.
That may be the greatest song of all time, by the way.
Super Bowl
At one
shuffle.
point, at one point in time, I knew every line to that song because I'm a
Yes.
Chicago area guy, so
Yeah.
I grew up adoring everything about the '85 Bears.
Well, yeah, you grew up. I was 10, and that the bear fever, or whatever you want to call it, that
Yeah.
swept the nation. It
Yeah,
did,
Jim
'cause-
McMahon was a superhero.
Yeah.
Well, we
yeah.
eventually got him in Philadelphia along with the fridge.
Yeah,
The fridge. Yeah.
yeah, he was great here. He couldn't think straight. He couldn't walk.
So nobody wants to know my Weird Al.
Oh,
It was-
sure.
No,
It was-
Well, yes.
It was living on a prairie instead of living on a prayer.
Oh, was it the TV show parody?
No, living on a prayer by Bon Jovi.
Oh yeah, what's the
Oh,
Laura Ingalls
Little House on
Wilder.
the Prairie.
That's the
one.
It didn't get that. It didn't get that deep. I just had the name. I
You
didn't go
didn't
in
go-
it. I
didn't
tried to
go-
write. I tried to write. You know, now that you give me that, I should watch. Oh my God, it's brilliant. I'm gonna make this happen.
Well, I know Weird Al did Amish Paradise, which is a
Right.
takeoff on Gangster's Paradise. And,
What was the takeoff on my idea? Kind of. He kind of stole it from my brain.
Yeah, you actually were there first. You're
Mhm.
the guy.
Right. He somehow stole it from my brain.
Yeah, Daniel Radcliffe should be playing you.
This is the best Charles Bronson podcast ever. All right, so this is so much fun. I'm having so much fun. So listen, oh well, okay, here we go. Let's jump right to this. Why did he decide that he had to run around the streets of Switzerland with a pea
the
shooter?
blowgun.
The
I love how
blowgun,
he
yeah.
tested
We
it
have
on
to
a
talk
light
about the
bulb.
blowgun. We have to talk
Yeah.
about the blowgun. The
Yeah, so
MacGyver-like scene where he takes the lamp apart and he makes
Yeah.
those darts with a
That's-
nail with
that-
paper.
That's what I was thinking. Maybe he had too much chocolate.
Right. But like, did he lose his gun? Did I miss something?
I don't think he ever had one, did he?
Yeah, I don't think he did
I
either.
don't think he did. No.
No, yeah.
I have to look that up because I might be having like a brain fart.
Are
here.
those the bullets from the title? The nail paper
Yep,
thing?
well,
Oh yeah. But I feel like I read somewhere that that was like his idea or that was something he did as a kid, but I might be losing my mind. But I did that as a kid. Me and my friends watched that and then we tried to do that with a nail and paper.
We killed a guy.
Yeah, but he had it coming. He was,
He was gonna kill his girlfriend. I don't,
yeah, he
I've
was
lost
gonna
the
have,
plot.
he was gonna have this, yeah, he was gonna cheat on his math test.
but the part with the nail gun where he first uses it and the precision where he nails that guy right in the eye. When
Yeah,
they're outside the hotel.
that's
I
what
mean,
I mean. Like that
Well,
kind of
you
stuff
knew he
was
had
so
the skill.
neat.
He practiced on the light bulb.
I think that's why I like this movie. It's in Switzerland. You got to understand too. Right before Bronson became my obsession, I was a huge James Bond fan. I liked adventure. He throws an axe into a guy's back.
We were that close to this
That's the
show
best
being
part
about
of the
James
movie.
Bond.
We were. I know. I mean, I like the feel of this. I like this movie. I don't care. I don't like that she died at the end though. I like Danny's idea. I think we rewrite the end. We see what everybody's doing. I know they're dead, but we'll do our best to kind of like maybe finish the movie make her let her live. Who would play Jill Ireland when we finish the movie? Bossinger, go. Who would play Jill Ireland when we remake the movie?
Scarlett
Hmm.
Johansson.
Robert Baum, go.
Anna Kendrick?
Bossinger, are you frozen or are you making fun of me? And Bossinger.
Oh, he was frozen then. Okay.
Oh, he was frozen. Oh, you
There
were
he
frozen
is.
for a second. Frozen. I know it's cold there in the Swiss Alps. Bossinger,
What's up?
we're going to remake the ending of Love and Bullets so that Jill Ireland doesn't die, but she's dead. So who's going to play her in our ending?
Out of the people in this room talking right now?
No, asshole.
Oh, I'll play her.
Actress.
I'll play
An
her.
actress.
I'll wear that wig.
Yeah, you're the
Florence
prettiest.
Pugh. Let's go with Florence Pugh.
Oh, I like her. Very good.
I do
Who's
too.
playing Charles Bronson? Robert Baum.
Hmm. Jeremy Renner, if he ever recovers.
There you go. It's a good
He's got
one.
the limp then. He can do it.
You say Bronson
Or
has a
Jason
limp.
Statham.
Okay. What about Mark Wahlberg? Why did I say it like that? Did you hear it?
Wow.
Wow.
Clint Eastwood.
Listen, David
Yeah.
Middleburg. David Middleburg. Who's playing Rod? No, we don't. Yeah, who's playing Rod Steiger's character? Because we're still going to blow him up at the end.
Oh God. God, who could play that role? Man.
Let's do Daniel Day-Lewis.
Paul Giamatti.
Oh, God.
Paul
Giamatti.
Giamatti's a good one. I can see him
Yeah.
with the weird stutter.
You know, he's one of my favorite actors, and now he's running around on Verizon commercials.
That's not him. That's Einstein. They got the real one.
Oh, okay. How would you guys rate this? This is one of our most. This is probably the loosest episode yet.
You know,
But
the
I
one
thi-
thing I do want to say,
but I
a
had a lot
positive
of
thing
fun.
before
I-
you go into the full wrap up here. And honestly,
Right.
I think it would be a good thing to call back in the ending where we bring her back to life, where she keeps forgetting what words are, and then when he says it, she goes, "That's the fella."
That's the one.
Yes. Yes, that's the fella. Yeah.
That's the fella made me laugh every time.
Well, if you're looking
And-
for an actress who might be worse than Ireland, then bring in Brigitte Nielsen.
Well, she's too old now.
Yeah,
Though.
that's
We're
true.
gonna make it like, I don't know, like we're not. Yeah, she's too old now. I couldn't form a sentence there.
But yeah,
How
have her
about
pop up in
Charlize
the
Theron?
car. She goes,
Charlize
"What's the
Theron
word
is
for
good.
faking your own death?" And then Charles Bronson says whatever the word is for faking your own death, and she goes, "That's the fella." End
Yeah.
of movie.
Dude. Yeah, we have to clean up that ending.
Let's go. Let's make it.
What's
Wrap,
John Hughes?
wrap the show up. Let's go.
What's John Houston doing?
I'll find his daughter.
All right. So anyway, she gets killed, right? She gets shot after all that. All that for nothing, right? And then Silva goes, "Hey, the guy on the balcony did it." Kozlo gets killed. Silva walks away. What is it wasn't even a,
What an
I mean,
unsatisfying ending for that.
for that
I was supposed to
character.
care more about their relationship, I guess, that he just like sold the guy out. But I was like, so what?
Right. And
They're
then
equal level bad guys.
Bronson goes and drowns Strother Martin. Now, Bronson quit smoking for this movie because there was a lot going on in it. He was supposed to beat Smother Martin to death, but he said it was too physical. I love Charles Bronson. The action started goes, it's too physical. I'll just
I
drown
never
him."
knew he had a smoking habit. I guess that's no surprise why I read that among the contributing factors to his demise was COPD.
Yes, he actually
He had an elephant sitting on his chest.
as much as he was into his physique and working out and all that, he struggled during the filming of Hard Times too. I heard from years of smoking, and I don't think it helped that he grew up in a coal mining town. But Bronson gets a coffin somehow and hearse, and he drives up to Joe Bonpose's place, and that's where Joe Bonpose reads the little note that says, "Love and bullets, Charlie." And he said,
Who's Charlie?
Who the hell's Charlie? And he opens it up, and kaboom, he blows up and he dies just like the cop in the beginning. And it was cool. It was a satisfying ending, but I don't know. I want Jill Ireland's character to live. So
I found Rod Steiger to be kind of sympathetic and like stuck in a bad position. So for all of the other people to walk away who put him in that position and he's the one who explodes, I'm like, what is the justice here?
yeah, I know he didn't want her to die either. So yeah. And Henry Silva just walks away. That whole character just fizzled out. He's on the bed getting a massage from a really sexy woman. He's so bad. He's Italian and he's got sunglasses and he just kind of like I think that's the failure in this movie is
Missed opportunity.
big missed opportunity there with Henry Silva.
Yeah.
But anyway, real quick before we go. Love and bullets. Love and bullets.
It's
Ooh, they were an alligator. Two guys were in alligator and Cannonball Run too. Oh, that's all I got.
I wanted to see that keep going forever.
Brad Crane is
Some
spinning in his
freestyle.
grave.
I mean, free Brad Crane. I saw the sign. It's
Yeah, it's tax season. He couldn't be here.
Wabbit season.
But I need to give more people. And listen to the listeners. Listen, what do I always say on that Facebook page? Let us know if you want to get involved. That's what Robert did. He said, "Hey, I'd like to be on that show." I said, "All right, let's do it." So I mean, get involved. This is this is fun. We're trying to have fun and keep people's names alive, like Charles Bronson and Rod Steiger
and the Bears.
Lorraine Chin, the Bears. Like, who remembers the Bears?
Number one draft pick, baby. Well, unless they trade it.
Eventually.
But you've been listening to This Week in Charles Bronson, a highly uncalled for news and pop culture program revolving around one weirdo and now a community of weirdos' obsession with the late great action star. I want to thank the teenage Danny Getz, the Vossinger of Death, Ryan Voss. I got to come up with a nickname for Robert Baum. And of course, David, Mr. Majestic Middleberg. Thank you, everybody, and good night.
Good night.